And based on this influence mix, if we hone in on and focus on the O, we have what's called the O continuum. And this O continuum means that different products will lie on different locations on this O continuum. So on the left-hand side of this O continuum, you will see products that are O independent. In other words, these product categories are independent from other reviews, from others' influence. Whereas products that lie more towards the right-hand side of this continuum are more dependent on others' opinions. So, for instance, high-tech products like electronics, like digital cameras or laptops or MP3 players. These, consumer electronics, these are influenced by a lot of the time by others. We rely on others' reviews to develop our own opinion about certain brands. So others' reviews have a heavy influence on how we approach different brands in the marketplace. That's why it's called consumer electronics would be on the far right-hand side of this O continuum because it is O dependent, it is others dependent. Whereas for low involvement products such as soap, shampoo, habitual purchases like milk, orange juice, these are typically consumers do not rely on reviews when we buy these types of products. So that's why these are O independent. They fall closer to the O independent side of the O continuum. So depending on the product category or the service category, it will lie on different location on this O continuum where some will be more O dependent and some will be more O independent. So what does this all mean? Well, this O continuum influences marketing strategy. So, in other words, this benefits smaller firms that have little muscle and resources. So if you are O dependent and there's a lot of influence on others' reviews and what others say, then that means that smaller firms that don't have the financial resources or the expertise or the human resources to develop brands or to engage in extensive market research, it's an advantage for these smaller mom and pop, so to speak, type of companies because they don't have to rely on these traditional marketing communications, and they can benefit from these social media, what others have to say, and other customers will be more dependent on what others have to say to be loyal to your brand. This means that the importance of brands may become less important. So like I said, when we are O dependent, then the importance of a strong brand may become less important because brands are typically developed by engaging in heavy marketing research, in using a lot of traditional marketing communications. But if we're O dependent, then brands may not be all that relevant, and others' views, others' opinions, other people's voices may be able to replace the role or the function of brands and drive customers into the stores. So the third is traditional market research may become less relevant. Here, traditional market research would be the focus on P's because traditional market research, one of the goals of traditional market research is to influence, the prior beliefs or prior experiences of consumers. Because O relies on others, this takes away the importance and it reduces the importance and the role of traditional marketing research. And then the fourth and last is conventional advertising becomes less effective. So like I said before, because we rely on others or horizontal communication as opposed to vertical communication. Vertical communication being where the firm is telling the market, the customers about their brand. Here, the customers rely on other customers to learn about their brand. So this is more coming from a horizontal perspective as opposed to a vertical perspective, which would be the traditional, conventional advertising. And because they now, if you're more O-dependent, you rely on what others have to say as opposed to what the company has to say, the conventional advertising may become less relevant and effective.